Want to know how to trade the frenzy that is Saturday afternoon trading? If you watch this video, I'm going to be telling you how I handle the exchanges on a Saturday afternoon and how many trades I actually do. I'm Ryan Carruthers from the BetfairTradingCommunity.com, and I've been trading for years and have helped hundreds of traders. If you want to see videos just like this with all different types of content around trading, then hit subscribe. So, Saturday afternoon is absolutely crazy because you've got games kicking off in lots of different leagues all over the world, well, all over Europe most of the time, around the same sort of time. It's crazy, it's absolutely mental. So what do I do and what tips can I give you to handle that craziness? Well, the first one, and I always harp on about this, is to plan. So in the morning, Saturday morning, I get up, get my coffee, I feed the crazy cat, and I start to go through the stats of the games. So I look through all of the stats that I'm going to be trading and which kind of games I'm going to be trading. Now I get my stats on the stat software that we've got at BTC. So I just click export and then I get them on a spreadsheet and then I start playing around with them. And I start to look at all of the information, I start to research it more and more, and I get as granular as possible. And that's the key for me. It's getting granular. Not just, they've played 10 times this season. No. I want to know how many of those games, if they're playing away, how many of those games have they played away in the same circumstances or same sort of circumstances? So against the same opposition type, the same kind of defenders. How have they coped against these defenders? So does Lukaku bully that kind of defenders usually? Yes, no, okay. And I start to build up a picture of this. And I get all of this information and I start to put these notes on these games. So I've gone from sort of having 30 or 40 games right now, maybe across different ways of trading, and I've eliminated 20 maybe straight away, and I've got sort of 20 games to look at. So I get granular. I think about this question: what has to happen for that trade to be profitable? So if I'm looking at a half-time later draw, because I'm going to wait to half-time, then go into the second half market, and if it's 0-0 or 1-1, I'm going to be looking to lay the draw. What has to happen for that trade to be profitable? Well, how many average goals do these teams score? How many of those goals come in the second half? Who's likely to score first? Which team? Which player? Is that player playing? What's the creativity behind that player? Are they getting the ball to him? Can that player play against this kind of defenders? Are they playing against that kind of defenders? I start to put all of that information together in my trading plan. And then from there, I've probably got around 20 games. I've probably narrowed them down now to about 10 or 12 games. And I've got the information there. Then I start to rate those. So which one I think is going to be the best trade. Because a lot of the times these games are all kicking off at sort of 3 o'clock around the same time. So you can quite clearly see that then. I add those games to my flash scores. Now this does all depend on the way that you trade. Because if you're trading the first half, you need to add them to your flash scores and then be there at that time. So you need to be there at 3 o'clock. But the premise is the same, to grade these games. Grade them from what you think is going to be the best trade to the worst trade, and then focus on that first one. But get granular, get as much information and as much detail as you can and add that to your trading plan. So genuinely think about those kinds of things that, have they played against this team before? What's the head-to-head? What's the weather like? Because if the weather is going to affect the way that these teams play, then that's going to have an impact on your trade. How have the teams been playing recently? I've got some notes because I did ask quite a few guys about what to include in this video. So we're getting granular. We've scored the games. Now think about your entry and your exit point. So one of the great things about trading is that the market moves. One thing I'd love you guys to do is to just watch markets. So if you want to trade the overs and the unders, just watch markets so you can see what prices they are at certain times, and then start to write them down. Collect that data, because then when you apply that to your strategy, you can work out your entry and exit, because you're going to go, right, okay, I'm going to get in at 1.8 because at 15 minutes or whatever in that game, usually it's around that price. So I know as well that I'm going to stay in that market till half time, and then it's usually that price. So if it's there, then I can take a stop loss at that, and I know I'm going to lose 10-15% of my stake. But if we do get a goal, it's going to, in the next 5 minutes, it's going to go there. So then there gives me 20, 25, 30% return on my stake. If it comes later, it's going to give me 10% return on my stake. So when you know where the prices are likely to be at the event that you are hoping will happen from your research, then you can work out your entry and exit, because you can work out, okay, this is how much I want to risk on that trade. This is how long I'm going to be in that trade for. But one of the things that I've started to do recently is I've started to split my stake. So I do quite a lot of research before the game, but then I pair that with what's happening in the game, because I create these hypotheses of what I think's going to happen. And usually I always get to half time, and then I wait again and I start to assess it. And I'm always asking myself, okay, what has to happen for this to be a profitable trade? And it's usually a goal, if I'm honest. So I'm thinking about the link-up play. I'm thinking about dangerous attacks. What percentage of the attacks are dangerous? What are the stats on these teams scoring in this time period? How often do they do that? Who's the players who score that? And then I do that. But I've split my stake and I've started drip backing. So I'm looking to drip back the next overs. So if it's 0-0 at half time, I'm going to drip back the over 0.5 or the over 1.5. And I'm going to drip back that in increments throughout the half, because I'm happy to do that. But what that does for me is it just limits my liability, and I have more control over the market. So what I can do there is, if I back at 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8 and 2.0, just as an example, my average odds will be higher than the 1.2. So I'm still getting a good return on my investment, but I've dripped my stake into the market. So I haven't just gone all in, and then if the market's against me, all I'm seeing is a bigger red, and I'm just sat there going, okay, come on, I'm praying for a goal, and I'm constantly thinking about that potential loss situation. By dripping my stakes in, I'm not thinking so much about that loss. I'm thinking more clearly about analysing what I'm actually seeing, and this is so key. We do have another video, guys, on this channel about that, but let me ask you guys, what are you guys thinking when your trades are in play? What are you thinking about? So by me dripping my stakes, I'm thinking, okay, I've got a little bit in there. Okay, what's happening? Are we getting shots on target? Is there dangerous attacks? Is there more dangerous attacks? Is the percentage of dangerous attacks higher? Okay, is Dele Alli threading balls through to Harry Kane all the time? Yes, he is. Okay, is Harry Kane getting on him? Yes. Is he bullying the defender? Yes. Did the stats say that Tottenham are likely to score the next goal? Yes. Okay, so just by thinking about the sequence of events and then linking that to what you're actually seeing in play is so key. It's so key. You can, the best traders get all of the pre-match information. They bring it all together and create a picture of what they think is going to happen, and then they break that down into digestible chunks and see that happening in the game. And then if that is happening, then they get involved and then they trade out. But they know their entry, they know their exit before they ever do their trade. Before they do the trade, they know their entry and they know their exit. So for me, it comes down to planning out my trades, grading them from the best to the worst, splitting my stakes so that I manage my liability. Because so if I've gone in at 1.2, 1.4 in a game, and I'm not seeing Dele Alli thread the ball through because whoever's stopping that ball going through, and he's just getting bullied, Harry Kane's getting bullied, cancel each other out, just stop, I take the loss and I move on. Because it goes back to that question, what has to happen for the trade that you're doing to be profitable? And you can use that on any market. So any market or any thought you have about doing a potential trade, think about what has to happen for it to be profitable, and then break that down into chunks. And then if you're not seeing that, just get out and just move on. Because what's the point? You're just on hope then, and you don't want to be hopeful. You don't want to be hoping that something's going to be happening. You want to be armed with the information that it's going going to come good, and you're seeing your pre-match research line up with what is actually happening in play. That is it, guys. So I actually probably only trade 3 or 4 games, because once I set that my profit and my loss for the day for my entry and exit points, I know where my profit is and where my loss is on every given trade. And after sort of 3 or 4 trades, I get out and I move on. If I'm having a good day or a bad day, it's exactly the same, I move on. If I'm having a bad day and I've done 2 really bad trades in a row, I might just go, do you know what, my head's not in the right place, I'm out of here. And shut the computer down. Somebody did ask about monitoring information. Okay, one of the things that I do is, as I'm currently sat here, I've got a laptop, I've got another screen, and I usually have an iPad as well, all connected up. The screen's quite big, I can get 3 or 4 screens on there. I'll have Twitter open to monitor the information for your pre-match stuff. So I want to know who's in the team and all that kind of stuff. That comes up on Twitter, and I'm constantly scrolling that. I have flash scores open with all of the games on, ready there, monitoring it. And then I have the BTC stats as well. And I use Evernote in the morning, and I will add in my games to Evernote, and I will start to put all of the information in bullet points. So don't get heavy on text, I just put bullet points on them so that I know the key pieces of information that I need to look for on those games. So that is it, guys. That's how I handle the really, really busy Saturday afternoon trading, by focusing on the research before, getting all of that information, and then partnering that with what I see in play. Because you're not going to be able to trade all of the games, because there's just too many of them, and you're going to spread yourself too thin and you're going to miss things. So pick a few trades that you've researched the most, and by doing the research as detailed as possible, you will eliminate things. You will find stats that make a trade not doable. I'm always trying to find a reason not to do a trade. And by doing that and having that attitude to it, I find the information that I need to then arm me with the best trades. And then I pair that with what I'm actually seeing in play. So how many games are you currently trading on a Saturday afternoon, and what's your process for picking them? Drop them in the comments below.